Good morning, my dear followers and students. Today we are going to proceed with our discussion of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. On page number 35, there is a confrontation, a sudden meeting between Scrooge and Marley's ghost. But you were always, the second paragraph on this page, but you were always a good man of business. Here we have Scrooge inquiring about the cause of the sorrow this ghost has reached. But you were always a good man of business, good businessman. Faltered Scrooge. He's talking inconfidently. Okay, the word falter is to talk inconfidently. Who now began to apply this to himself. He's not asking about this ghost's condition. He was a good businessman. No. The question is directed to Scrooge himself. He is asking himself. Business, cried the ghost, wringing its hands again. Wringing, to wring is to twist and squeeze. Okay. Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Here we find a kind of self-reproach. Okay, this ghost, Marley's ghost, is reproaching itself. Mankind, when that ghost says, mankind was my business, so he is blaming himself that mankind wasn't really his own business. The common welfare was my business. It wasn't, indeed it wasn't, but he's blaming himself. The welfare of the people was supposed to be Marley's own business, major concern, but it wasn't. It's a kind of regret. He's feeling regret that this didn't happen actually. Charity was supposed to be his own business. Mercy, forbearance, or forbearance of course means patience, and benevolence were all my business. Indeed, they weren't his own business. He's blaming himself that they weren't. It's a kind of irony. The dealings of my trade, on the other hand, were but a drop of water. So he is again blaming himself that trade, instead of all these things, charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence, trade took the place or replaced these things, came on top of his priorities. Okay, trade, and unfortunately these dealings of trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Trade was supposed to mean very trivial thing in his business, in his major concerns. It must have come last on his list, trade. It held up its chain. The ghost held the chain, okay, wound around his waist. The ghost held up its chain at arm's length. Okay, at that moment when he mentioned the dealings of the trade, he held the chain. So the chain, this heavy chain, is the result of trade, of this trade. As if it were the cause of all its unavailing grief. The chain, the trade, okay, is the cause of his unsuccessful grief. Unsuccessful grief, right. His repentance, his regret is fruitless now, is futile. It is no more useful. It is unsuccessful. It is the cause. And so, and flung it heavily upon the ground again. Okay. He dropped it again on the ground heavily. Because it's useless. Repentance is useless. Now, he's now dead. There is no way back. At this time of the rolling year, the spectre said, the phantom, the ghost said, at Christmas, I suffer most. The ghost suffers most because it reminds him that he was supposed to take care of his real business, that is, charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence, at Christmas time at least. It's a reminder to the ghost. So he suffers most at this time. I suffer most. Why did I walk through the crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down? He's asking himself again of the cause of his walking with his eyes turned down among his fellow beings, among the poor. Here, this expression, this word, fellow beings, he means poor people, with his eyes turned down. He is ashamed. He is ashamed of himself. He feels shame. And never raised them to that blessed star which led to the sky, which led to the wise men, which led the wise men who were supposed to be wise. Again, he is reproaching himself, he's blaming himself because he wasn't a wise man to think about charity, forbearance, mercy. To a poor abbot, to the place where poor people reside or live. He was supposed to do that. He was supposed to take care of the poor. Were there no poor homes to which its light would have conducted me? Many poor people are all over the place, all over England. Okay. But I wasn't encouraged. I didn't feel the enthusiasm to reach for them, to reach my hand for them, to help them. I didn't do that. Now go to page number, the next page, turn over the page number 36. Again, we have a scene between Molly and Scrooge. Why did Molly come to visit Scrooge at this time of year? Up there we find this sentence on page 36. I am here tonight to warn you. So he is coming to warn Scrooge of something. It's a warning. His coming, his visit is a warning. That you have yet a chance and hope. Still there is a chance and hope to Scrooge and many other people who are self-contained, irresponsible, socially irresponsible, miser people, of escaping my fate. It's a warning so that you can escape my own destiny. Scrooge, pay attention to this. A chance and hope. There is still a chance and hope of my procuring, of my purgation, there is a chance and hope to purgation, to be purified of the sins committed against the poor people. You were always a good friend to me, says Scrooge. Thank ye. You will be haunted, okay, resumed the ghost, by 3 spirits. So it is the first clear, apparent, direct hint at this major theme of the entire novel, that there will be 3 ghosts, 3 specters, 3 phantoms that will be haunting this man Scrooge. At this moment, Scrooge's countenance, his features, fell almost as low as the ghost's features, because he is repenting now. He is so afraid of the same destiny, the same fate of the ghost. Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Jacob? He demanded, in a faltering voice, in an unstable voice, a shuddering voice. He's so afraid. Do you come here to announce me that there will be 3 ghosts that will be haunting me? Is that the chance and hope you mentioned a moment ago? It is. I, shuddering, faltering, okay? I think I'd rather not. I don't want them to come. But without their visits, without this kind of warning, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. There is no hope of, to shun is to avoid. There is no hope of avoiding my destiny, the path I tread. Expect the first ghost tomorrow, when the bell tolls 1, when the clock strikes the announcement of this hour, 1 o'clock. Couldn't I take them all at once? Couldn't I have all of the 3 ghosts, all of just one time, and have it over, ended? Expect the second on the next night. Expect the second on the next night. The second ghost is supposed to come tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, the next night, at the same hour, at 1 o'clock. The third ghost upon the next night, the following day, when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate, at 1 o'clock. Look to see me no more. I will not appear to you anymore. I will not come to visit you anymore. I look that, for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us. Remember the kind of partnership we had, partnership in everything. Now move until page number 37. Another scene after the departure of this ghost, Marley's ghost. Not so much in obedience. This is the 3rd paragraph on this page. Not so much in obedience as in surprise and fear. Scrooge is now experiencing the feelings of surprise and fear, these emotions, surprise and fear. For on the raising of the hand, he became sensible of confused noises in the ear. Scrooge begins to hear different sounds, very loud sounds, noises in the air outside of his house. Incoherent sounds of, what kind of sounds? What kind of noises? lamentation, expressing sadness. Okay, sounds expressing sadness of someone, and regret, sadness and regret. Wailings, cryings, inexpressibly sorrowful, extremely sorrowful, and self-accusatory, expressing the self-accusation of the person or persons who uttered them. The spectre, Molly's ghost, after listening for a moment, he listened together with Scrooge when he left the place and just was about to fly away. He listened at the same moment as Scrooge listens. Okay, the spectre, after listening for a moment to these voices, to these, of course, they don't know that these are the voices of other ghosts at this moment. There are many other ghosts in the air around the house, haunting the place, all over the place. Joined in the mournful dirge, the ghost joined these ghosts, which are mourning something. Of course, the word dirge means a funeral song. Okay, a song of a funeral, and we have many corpses, many ghosts in this funeral. And floated out, the ghost floated out, Molly's ghost floated out of the window upon the bleak, dark night, upon the cold or gloomy, dark night outside. Scrooge followed to the window, desperate in his curiosity. We have two contradictory emotions, desperation and curiosity. He is so desperate of the fate that might be haunting him in the near future. Okay? And at the same time, so curious to know about the other ghosts haunting the place, roaming about the place. He looked out of the window. The air outside of the house was filled with phantoms, many spectres, many ghosts. These ghosts were wandering hither and thither, here and there, going from this place to this place, in restless haste. They are very, very quick in their movement, as if they were restless. They don't fear rest. Okay? And moaning, these ghosts were moaning, uttering this sound which expresses their feelings of pain. They feel pain. Okay? As they went. Every one of them wore chains. All of them just like Molly. Chained. Many chains around their waists. Okay? Like Molly's ghost. Some of these ghosts, some few, into brackets, they might be guilty governments. Okay? Here we find Charles Dickens gives his opinion that these or some of these ghosts might be guilty governments, ministers in the government of England at the time. Some few will link it together, attach it together by these links or chains. Okay? None were free. None of these ghosts were free of chains. Now all of them were guilty, chained. Many have been personally known to Scrooge. Many of these specters or ghosts were familiar to Scrooge. He knew them during in the lives. He had been quite familiar with one old ghost. One of these ghosts, in a white waistcoat, He wore a white waistcoat with, take care of this, with a monstrous iron safe. A huge, a massive iron safe. A safe is in Arabic, khazna, of course. A huge iron safe attached to its ankle. Okay? Who cried piteously, pitiably, it means piteously, at being unable to assist a wretched woman, this ghost, in this white waistcoat, and the huge iron safe attached to its ankle. This ghost was unable to, at this moment of course, to assist a wretched, a very poor, a miserable, a wretched woman with an infant on her hands, carrying an infant, her own infant, whom it saw below. Of course, goes up in the sky, roaming all over the place. He noticed the woman, okay, carrying an infant, very miserable, very poor, upon the doorstep. This ghost, in this white waistcoat with a monstrous safe iron attached to its ankle, maybe is, this is my own explanation, okay, maybe the Minister of Treasury at that time, okay, the Minister of Treasury, Financial Minister. The misery with them all was, they're all over misery, clearly that they sought to interfere. Okay, they were very, very inclined to interfere in this situation. Okay, for good, in human matters, to interfere once more, after they were already alive in the matters of humans, in human life. Okay, of course they cannot, because they are now dead. They are mere ghosts or specters, and had lost the power forever. They can't. They are dead. It is no more useful to interfere. It is useless now. It's all over.